All right, we're going to start our zoning portion of the question and answer session. This is the last board for today. Now, just as a reminder, each candidate will have 1 minute to answer every question. Please stick to the minute. That includes opening and closing statements. This is not a debate, but just merely a question and answer session. Attacks and responding to other candidates' responses will not be tolerated. If a candidate attacks another candidate, that part of the video will be deleted, and that candidate will lose their closing statement. Let's begin with the opening statements. Ms. Farewell.
Good morning, and thank you for the students for giving up your Saturday morning. My name is Ann Thurlow, and I'm running for re-election to the zoning committee. The previous boards I have been on in East Lyme include the Board of Tax Assessment Appeals. I've also spent time serving on the Planning Commission, and most recently 6 years on the Zoning Commission, 2 years as an alternate and 4 years as a regular member. I think it's very important for people in the community to be involved in local government, and the more the better. To paraphrase, it takes a village to run a village. For me personally, it's an opportunity to give back to a community where my family has lived for 4 generations, and myself for the last 15 years. I've lived here full time and absolutely love it, and I'm grateful to be here. Thank you.
Good morning, and thank you for the opportunity to introduce myself. I'm Dave Schmidt, and I'm a candidate for the Zoning Commission. I was born and raised in Wilton, Connecticut, a town in Fairfield County, approximately the same size as East Lyme. I served there for many years on the Planning, Zoning, and Inland Wetlands Commissions and learned much about the applicable laws and process. When I became involved with lands use boards, I never gave much thought to the politics involved because I believe these decisions need to be made following the various local, state, and federal regulations. These decisions should be made after reviewing the application at hand and applying these laws and regulations, not partisan politics. If the application meets the POCD, the Architectural Design Review, and all regulations, then it must be approved. Rather than a political position, I look at serving on the Zoning Commission in East Lyme as an opportunity to serve and give back to the community my wife and I have chosen as our retirement home, maintaining or improving the quality of life for all of East Lyme. With its natural beauty, extensive waterfront, open space, trails, and boardwalk, the New England Seaside Village is a very desirable location. I would like to allow slow, controlled, well-managed growth as more and more people and businesses choose East Lyme as a place to live and work.
Good morning. My name is Gary Pivo. Zoning was created 100 years ago to deal with the excesses of overdevelopment. It's natural for when people are pursuing the full utilization of their property that sometimes it can have harmful effects on neighbors. And zoning was created to try to regulate that and get control of that. So it's got inherent already political tension built into it. And so what it needs to focus on, and what it does focus on, is trying to manage, protect the health, the safety, the welfare, things like good water quality, safe streets, affordable housing of the folks in the community. While we're trying to do that, of course, I would also be seeking to try to introduce into the community principles of good urban and town planning. I have been a professor of urban planning for the last 35 years, seen it all over the world, and want to bring those ideas here. And finally, I just want to say that there is always going to be political pressure for overdevelopment. It's part of the natural process, and so it's critical that we bring in the community to help express what they want and the balance they want to establish.
Thank you. We're going to start with Mr. Pivo on this question, and Aiden is going to ask him.
Some people are advocating for more affordable housing in East Lyme, while others say that we are overdeveloping too quickly. How do you plan to balance these ideas?
Well, I think they're both right. I think we really do have problems of overdevelopment. We need to unpack what that means, though. We have water pollution issues. We have some projects like the affordable housing project on Bride Brook that some people think is too big and unattractive. We have problems of gentrification. So there's a number of overdevelopment problems, but affordable housing doesn't have to cause overdevelopment. We only, we have a town plan for affordable housing. It calls for the importance of building about 250 more units of lower income housing, which we could fit on a piece of land or several pieces of land. Then it's as big as half the school here. And so it doesn't need to take up a lot of space. We already have land zoned for it over at Rocky Neck, on Main Street, on Flanders. And it doesn't have to be big and ugly, it could be attractive. Like if you take a look at Deerfield Village off King Arthur, a very attractive, lower densities, townhome kind of development. So I think we can have affordable housing without it being an overdevelopment problem, and we should pursue that.
Affordable housing is a very complex and sensitive issue. There is a definite need for housing at prices that are more affordable to those with below average income. Balancing this need without building large developments has become more difficult since 830G has been in place in state law. Any developer needing to show a profit will build a development with 70% full market and 30% affordable. As long as 830G is in place, we will continue to see large developments doing little to achieve the goal of 10% of the inventory being affordable. One possibility is a private-public alliance using nonprofit affordable housing developers, refining the rules to make it possible to offer affordable houses. In Wilton, one such development, Autumn Ridge Drive, was completed many years ago, providing cluster housing at an affordable rate that was deed restricted to prevent resale at full market value. An alliance was formed between the state of Connecticut, the town of Wilton, and a nonprofit developer. Affordable housing is vital to any community, and more affluent the community, the greater the need. I was a professional firefighter in Wilton. On my salary alone, we would never have been able to live there. Reluctantly, I left the fire service and went to work in the private sector. 830G has provided a way for developers to build large complexes that would otherwise not happen, doing little to reach its desired goal. As long as it remains, this will tie the hands of local zoning commissions.
When I heard the question, the word balance is what stuck out to me. I think it's a key word. On one hand, we have a state mandate through the statute of 830G to attain 10% of our housing to be affordable housing. On the flip side, I think all residents would hope that the Board of Selectmen would spend as much money as they could to preserve green space with no housing on it whatsoever. Besides natural habitat, I mean, humans like to use it too for hiking and just, a mental break once in a while. When we do look at affordable housing applications, we have to consider many things, and the decision is always difficult. We do have to remember that developers can always sue us, and we have to consider if it's worth the taxpayers' money to fight a lawsuit. I have asked 2 months ago a town attorney to reevaluate where we are and to see if we qualify for a 4-year moratorium on building affordable housing, so we'll have time to look at more options.
Thank you. We're just going to ask to make sure that the candidates stay to the 1 minute, just because other boards had 1 minute. So just make sure everyone stays as close to that 1 minute as possible, please. Thank you. The next question will start with Ms. Thurlow and Cecile. Please.
With many teenagers feeling as though there is nothing to do in East Lyme, and now with the movie theater closing, is there anything you could do to encourage more teenage-friendly businesses to move into town?
I totally understand teenagers thinking there's not enough to do in town, because actually once in a while I think that myself. But a bit of good news is that you won't have to share the basketball court at Rybrook anymore, because the town has offered to build separate pickleball courts. So you'll have those full time. But pickleball is an interesting story. It wasn't something started by the government officials. A group of people passionate about the sport got together, wrote a petition, got signatures, and presented it to the Board of Selectmen. And now it's coming into fruition. So I actually think that's something that teenagers could be proactive about, getting a petition, coming to the town officials and see what you could get going. There's also the Niantic Main Street group that has been successful in organizing activities. And I also think, you know, you could also write businesses yourself besides town officials trying to lure them into East Lyme.
Finding options for teen recreation is an age-old problem and is an ever-moving target. When my kids were teens, cell phones and social media were non-existent. We had a teen center in town, and as long as there was parental supervision, the kids wouldn't hang out there. Perhaps the Youth Services Commission should identify the needs of the community in conjunction with the Board of Ed. Once this is determined, we can look to develop guidelines for whatever they would feel appropriate. I've heard complaints again that pickleball has taken over, but I haven't addressed that. Identifying what teens need and would utilize is the first and most important step in making changes to our regulation to accommodate those needs.
Okay, so I agree. I think it's a totally legit concern. But don't ask me what a teen-friendly business is, because look how old I am. Really, you know, maybe for me, I would think a bowling alley with a food court. But who knows what teens really are looking for. And so the first thing I agree should be to run some kind of a workshop to figure out what is a teen-friendly business that you think is missing that we should try to attract. I love teaching and working with students. I'd love to come and do some kind of a survey or a workshop or a focus group to have that conversation. Maybe we add a Gen Z element to the town plan for conservation and development. But once we know what it is we want to go after, then we have to be smart about how to figure out how to attract it. There's only about 1,000 teens in town, and so, you know, it's not a big customer base, but we can use the tools of economic development to try to attract businesses. And there are a lot of tools at our disposal that I could help us with. So thanks, good idea, good question.
Thank you. The next question is going to start with Mr. Paivo, and I will be asking the question. With most of our commercial and industrial land being full, what is your position on expanding the commercial and industrial areas within our town borders?
Couple of concerns and ideas. First, one of my priorities would be whatever we do in terms of adding new business, that we don't do it in a way that is destructive competition to the existing small business that we have in town. We have a very healthy, vibrant, wonderful, and I don't want to see more of those businesses lose out to national chains or big box companies that come here and are destructive to their success. Secondly, I think we need to fill in certain gaps in the retail services, like grocer downtown. A lot of people have asked for that. Third, I think it would be great if we could improve our jobs housing balance, bring in industry and office work that local residents can take so they don't have to commute as far. Only about 10% of the folks who live here actually work in town, and that's an extraordinarily low percentage. It would be good for sustainability if people could live and work in the same town. And finally, I'd like to say there's enough land zoned for this already. We don't need to add a lot of zoning. There's sites behind, just across from Stop and Shop, for example, where we could put in, you know, a couple of more CVSs if we need it. There's a lot of land already zoned for this kind of thing. So it's a matter of addressing these other concerns.
As more and more developers look to East Lyme for future development, our consideration of commercial and industrial rezoning is a very important issue. There will be increased pressure. I'm in favor of reconsideration of the POCD and strengthening and extending the architectural design of the 161 corridor and Flanders Four Corners. Any future development should be constructed in accordance with the architectural style of the New England seaside community, which we are. In Wilton, we created an adaptive use regulation encouraging residences along the Route 7 corridor to preserve the old original homes in appearance. For almost 40 years, I was employed by an oil, propane, and HVAC business with a full sheet metal shop. The offices were in a house that was 150 years old, and the shop and storage building were either built to appear or were converted barns from years ago. The property appeared to be an old New England family farm. You would never know what was there. We can accommodate growth that fits into the surrounding area, blends in with the neighboring architecture, but it needs careful review, updating, and enforcement regulations.
I think cutting a large area of trees down to accommodate new industrial commercial areas would be a very last resort. I don't think we need to. Currently, the industrial areas and commercial areas we have are underutilized. The store that used to be Bob's Furniture is a huge building. It's sitting empty. There's opportunities out in Colton Road. All that area next to Costco by Gateway was originally planned for retail, and it can be used as soon as the new exit ramps are finished. I'm also a big fan of redeveloping dilapidated buildings we already have. The new gas station out by I-95 was a complete eyesore. Now it's a state-of-the-art rest stop. We also have a new car wash going in where a dilapidated one was. So I think there's still plenty of land around town. We don't need to disturb any more green space to expand our businesses.
Thank you. We're going to move on to our closing statements, starting with Ms. Thurwell.
Thank you. The Zoning Commission's purpose is to encourage the best use of the land. I'll continue to do my best to maintain the balance of business, residential, and open spaces. Obviously, we need successful business to help keep property taxes down for the homeowners. You may not remember these folks, but I spent a few years on zoning sitting between the awesome Matt Walker, who I really wish would run again, and the late great Bill Dwyer. To me, they were really good zoning role models. Their knowledge, common sense, humility, and ability to work with everyone, regardless of party, was something I would emulate to follow. I think East Lyme's a great place to live. I think zoning's had a lot of impact in making it a great place, and I look forward to serving again, and I would appreciate your vote on voting day. Thank you.
Thank you for this opportunity. I love East Lyme and hope to live here for many years. I have a son, daughter-in-law, and grandkids here. They attend East Lyme Public Schools and are active in sporting and scouting activities. We keep a boat in the East Lyme Marina and enjoy fishing and boating on the Nyannick River and out in the Big Pond. I have chosen to spend my retirement doing volunteer work in the community. I'm active in Nyannick Rotary with St. Agnes Knights of Columbus and have served on the East Lyme Wetlands Commission and alternate to ZBA prior to filling a vacancy created several months back on the Zoning Commission. It would be great to keep everything the way it is, but if a town stifles growth, it makes it too difficult and it will slowly die. We need to allow development in keeping with the times as they change. Slow, controlled, well-managed growth is what I hope to achieve as a member of the Zoning Commission. With strength in architectural review and continuing updates to the POCD, we can allow expansion and achieve these goals. I hope to earn your support in the upcoming election. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. I'm not a big believer in this grow or die idea. I think that we need to manage and control our growth. I think that there have been problems. That's one of the reasons I'm running for this position. But what I really want to say to close is I want to encourage students in the high school to continue to be very active and get further involved in town politics, and especially in the zoning and planning side of things. When I was in high school, we were very active. We ended up being able to get a new bike path. We got a new set of parks put in, all because we went and showed up at the commissions, at the councils, and expressed our needs and desires. And I promise you that you're more powerful than you realize if you work together and articulate what you're looking for. So please make a difference and continue to do that throughout your entire lives. Thanks for having us here.
A round of applause for the zoning candidates, please. Before we end, I would like to thank all the candidates zoning up here, all the candidates. I would also like to thank Mr. Place, Mrs. Kelly, Mrs. Izzo, and Mr. Beal for helping us put this together. I would also like to thank the custodians as well. The Viking Saga thanks the candidates for showing up, and thank you to everybody.